Hey y'all, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is MOGIBETH, and for those of y'all who are new here, I own a six-figure reselling business selling primarily women's clothing on places like Poshmark and eBay. And today we are talking about 10 bread and butter brands that I am planning on picking up more in 2022 after doing some research. So I previously did a bread and butter brand video, which I'll link up on the screen, which I explain what bread and butter brands means. But basically I talk a lot about BOLO brands, brands to be on the lookout for. Bread and butter brands, on the other hand, are brands that you come across quite regularly. And so in my Poshmark reseller course, which is no longer available for sale, but I know a lot of y'all did take it, I talked about research in depth. And one of the differentiators that I talked about is historical research and the two different types of historical research. So historical research basically means looking back in time to see what has performed well in the recent past. And there are two different types of that. There's horizontal and vertical research. Horizontal research is looking for brands that you didn't previously know about, trends you didn't previously know about, that you can apply that knowledge when you're out in the thrift store or buy-sell trade store or wherever you source. Vertical research, on the other hand, is taking a brand that you already know about and really thoroughly deep diving into that brand and understanding what within it sells well and what that customer base is looking for. And so that's what I did with these brands on this list today. I picked 10 brands that I come across commonly in the Pacific Northwest area. I live in Portland, Oregon, and I've been going to the bins and the Goodwill thrift store a lot more often these days. And so I really wanted to do this research for myself, and I thought I'd go ahead and share this knowledge with y'all. Of course, some of these brands you may not come across as often in your area. For example, Lilly Pulitzer is a brand that I never come across, but if I lived in the South, it might be a brand that I come across a whole lot more often. So I would never dedicate research to Lilly Pulitzer, but some of y'all might want to. So take not only the knowledge I'm going to share with you here, but also the idea that doing research is really important, and it's really what gives professional resellers a competitive edge in the marketplace. Okay, so let's jump into brand number one. First brand is Athleta, and I'm going to tell y'all, I have been sleeping on Athleta for so long. I used to never ever pick it up. It was never a brand I gravitated to, even back when I was picking up mall brands. I've just never been an Athleta person, never really known about it and sold it. It just was not in my radar. But after moving to Portland and coming across it a lot more often and hearing other people selling it really well, I decided to do some research. So what I found is that black pants and black leggings do especially well. And there are certain styles that can often sell between $35 and $50 pre-owned, which I think is really good for Athleta, which is a brand I come across quite often. So I am going to share just some styles. These are examples of styles that do well, but it's certainly not an exhaustive list. So the first is the Trekkie style, and I'll just pop up a photo of each one as I talk about it. Second was the Brooklyn style. And then there's the Mercurial style that I came across, and this one actually does best when it's a size large or higher. The Cruise jogger does really well, and a lot of joggers do really well. I would say if you come across a black Athleta jogger, check comps because it's a good likelihood that it does well. These Cabo linen joggers do really well, and the Cabo linen wide leg pants actually did well as well, but the joggers did even better. And then something that I actually picked up at the bins recently were Salutation leggings. The Salutation leggings with the stash pocket, so the side pocket, do especially well. So I would say if you come across that, and there's probably a pretty good likelihood that you may come across it, go ahead and check comps and potentially pick it up. And then the last one I had on this list was the Headlands tight pant. But again, this is not an exhaustive list. If you find like newer style Athleta black pants or leggings when you're out and about sourcing, check comps. I think it's a really good idea to do so. Additionally, there are certain styles of cardigans and sweatshirts that can do well by Athleta. It's certainly not all, but there are certain styles that I kept coming across that I thought I'd share with y'all. The first was this Purana wrap sweatshirt, and it can sell between $30 and $60. Another one was this Pranayama cardigan that also can sell between $30 and $60 pre-owned, which is great. You know, something that I kept coming across is just like really more substantial pieces by Athleta can do really well. Newer substantial pieces. So for example, I picked up this jumpsuit recently at a buy-sell trade store, which I shared with y'all, but then also of course like newer outerwear, so anoraks, parkas, and things like that. Athleta does have a style number on the materials tag, So it's really easy to check comps and it's really easy to see if it's a newer piece or not. So I am really excited to pick Athleta up more into the future and see how it does. Okay, the second bread and butter brand that I'm picking up more is Soft Surroundings. Soft Surroundings is actually a brand I have some experience with. I used to have a place to source where I could buy new condition Soft Surroundings items, and I would do it and it would sell really well. Something that I think every reseller that has sold Soft Surroundings will tell you is that larger sizes do better than smaller sizes. Typically, smaller sizes can still sell though. But now that I'm buying pre-owned, I really look for soft surrounding pieces that have some kind of exciting or differentiating factor, some kind of unique style element. So what I mean by that is things like embroidery, mixed media, colorful pieces, something kind of like this Empress kimono, which I'll put up on the screen, because I think that the Soft Surroundings customer base is really looking for pieces like this that are kind of a little bit eccentric, colorful, and unique. And this also applies to one of the best categories I think within Soft Surroundings, which is maxi dresses. Tunic tops and kimonos and button downs can do really well by this brand, which is great. I mean, it's a brand that tops can do well in, but maxi dresses of course do well by Soft Surroundings too. And when I was doing my research, I found that maxi dresses, depending on the style, can sell between 30 and 80 bucks. There's a couple of styles that I came across that did well. One was this Ava maxi dress, and the second was this Venetian maxi dress, but of course this is far from an exhaustive list, but maxi dresses that have like unique style elements again are gonna do better than just a more solid color plain one. And then finally, a sweater style that does especially well by Soft Surroundings that I've actually had experience selling is the Telluride topper sweater, and it's this kind of like long line cardigan, open front. I think it has a hood, it's really soft, and it can sell on Poshmark between $45 and $70. And something that I will make note of is back when I was selling Soft Surroundings, I wasn't on eBay, and Soft Surroundings still does well on Poshmark, but if I were to guess, I bet it does even better on eBay. And since I'm now, my eBay sales are really kind of slowly picking up. I sold like 10 items yesterday on eBay, which was probably my best eBay sales day ever. So now that that's starting to gain momentum, I'm excited to see how Soft Surroundings does on eBay. And Soft Surroundings has a style number on the materials tag, so that's a really easy way to see if it's a newer piece. Typically newer pieces, when you put that style number into Google, you're gonna be able to find it pretty easily. Okay, I don't know if I would classify the third brand as a bread and butter brand, but it's one that I have come across not often in my thrift career, but regularly within my thrift career, and one I don't think I've ever picked it up. And now after doing research, I regret that, and I actually am going to force myself to pick it up. And that is CP Shades. This is one that you may know about already, but similar to Soft Surroundings, it's a brand that targets a more mature audience. However, they've done collaborations with Free People in the past. And when I was checking comps on CP Shades, I realized almost everything by this brand does well. I think it retails for a lot of money, but I didn't realize clearly how well it resells. And I think one of the reasons why I was resistant to picking up is because it's virtually impossible to find stock photos for this brand, and I like to sell things with stock photos, but that doesn't hurt its performance whatsoever, and if anything, it makes it easier to list. So I don't know why I was so hesitant on picking it up. But one thing I might be hesitant in picking up, unless I come across it at the bins or something, is just short sleeve blouses. That tends to be kind of the one category or subcategory that doesn't do quite as well, and so just something to keep a note of. But otherwise, overall, this brand does really, really well. Okay, brand number 4 is one that now that I live in Portland, I come across a whole lot more often, and that is the brand Kuhl, Kuhl, which I have never sold. I don't think ever in my reselling career. When I come across it, I just have like a big question mark over my head, and it has just been a big old cloud of mystery to me. I just pass it because I don't know anything about it, but I forced myself to do some research, especially since I'm coming across it more at the bins. And this is what I found. So there are kind of 2 overarching categories that I'm going to gravitate more towards and be willing to check comps on. The first is outerwear, which shouldn't be surprising because Kuhl, I think it's Kuhl, is an outdoors, you know, hiking type brand. So puffer coats, down jackets, anything with insulation, anything that's for cold weather by Kuhl is something that might be worth picking up. So that's something that I'm definitely going to throw on my cart and check comps on. One style that stood out to me when I was just looking through comps is this flight jacket, and it resells pre-owned between 40 and 75 bucks. But of course, that's just an example of a style that can do well. The other category within this brand that I am going to be more likely to check comps on, although I think it's a brand that's kind of hard to check comps on because I don't think there's a style number on the materials tag. So I might just have to experiment with it, and going to the bins, luckily I'm able to do that. But the other category is men's pants. And two styles that I came across when doing research that perform well is the first, the Confident pant. It's spelled with a K, and it has a resale value between $30 and $60. It has like a vent on the pant, which really I don't even know what that means. I'm not an outdoorsy person at all, but yeah, I think that's why it's popular. And then the second one was the Liberator pant. I think that has a zipper that can turn into a cargo short, and that one's resale value is between $30 and $70. Yeah, I think Kuhl is just a brand that I'm gonna just start grabbing at the bins and kind of experimenting with and seeing how it does, especially in those two categories. Okay, number 5 on the list is actually 3 brands, and similarly, these are brands I'm coming across more and more in the Pacific Northwest, and they are brands that focus on base layers or outdoor, again, type of activities. The 3 are Ibex, Smartwool, and Icebreaker. And if you watch my bins videos, my bins hauls, you've probably seen me come across Icebreaker and Smartwool, but I've never come across Ibex. But basically any piece by these 3 brands that has merino wool in it tends to do well. And another thing that I find is that you can definitely sell these brands on Poshmark, but they do even better on eBay. They sell really quickly on eBay. For example, just I think this past weekend, I sold this Smartwool quarter zip, and actually I got this quarter zip at the bins a while ago, and then I took it to our local tailor who does repairs for us, and it cost, you know, like I think around $5 to repair 2 holes that it had in it, and then it sold super quickly. I listed it for $60 and it sold 10% off of that because I run a constant 10% off sale in my eBay store. So what is that, $54 plus shipping? So a really good flip, a really good buy, and it was damaged. I of course disclosed the repairs in the listing, so you know I didn't put too much into it in terms of repairs, didn't put too much into it in terms of cost of goods, but it performed really, really well still. If you don't want to pay to repair it, you can still sell it. It'll just sell for less, but it will still sell and sell quickly if you price it right. So yeah, that's kind of number 5 is those 3 brands that I just want to mention on here because I don't think, you know, every person knows about them, but if you're a reseller, you should definitely know about them. Okay, so number 6 on the list is a brand that I have picked up, you know, from time to time in the past, but now I want to pick it up more, and that is ASTR the Label. ASTR the Label is just so prevalent. Every city that has a Nordstrom or a Macy's, you'll probably be able to find it. But because of that, not, of course, every piece is going to do well by this brand. And that's true for almost every brand on this list. Certain styles are going to do well. So the 2 categories that I really want to focus on with ASTR the Label are dresses and outerwear. And sometimes really trendy tops, like certain styles that are newer, can actually do really well by ASTR the Label, and certain sweaters as well. But generally the rule of thumb for me going forward is going to be dresses and outerwear, and really particularly dresses. And I think if you're planning on picking up a lot of ASTR the Label, you come across it a lot, it's important to stay on top of trends and what is selling well right now, because again, the ASTR the Label shopper is going to be a very trend conscious shopper. So I wanted to just show you 3 examples of styles by ASTR the Label that can do well. First, there's actually a style that they've been putting out for years and years that actually still performs really consistently between $35 and $50, and I've actually mentioned it on this channel, and it's the lace A-line midi dress. I found one at the bins somewhat recently, but I've also picked it up at the Goodwill thrift store before, and I've received it in liquidation, and it just always tends to do pretty well, as long as it's in good condition. Some colors do better than others. I think this metallic color does well, and white I think might do well, and there's certain colors that just do better, and certain sizes within those colors that do better. It's good to check saturation if you come across this dress, is what I'm saying, but it just tends to sell really consistently. But two dresses that are kind of more trendy, if you will, that are good examples of what to look for. The first is the Santorini dress. It can sell between $60 and $110. And then this Blythe dress, which will sell around $100. And so really kind of what I think of is, does this dress look like something that could be sold at Shopbop or Revolve right now? And that's one way that I really kind of keep up to date with what's trendy, is by just going on those websites, looking through them and seeing what is this shopper really looking for. I mean, what's a popular seller on these online retailers' websites. And typically if it's a newer piece, I tend to not have a hard time finding the style name when I'm Googling ASTR the Label pieces either. So the other category, outerwear, can do really well, especially oversized blazers and plaid coats. Those are two things that are still pretty trendy. There's this other style that I wanted to mention that I've actually had experience selling. It's this Freddy coat. It's kind of a Sherpa coat, and it can sell between $60 and $100. I think I sold mine in a bundle. I had it listed for $125 and sold it in a bundle, and it did pretty well. But yeah, that's ASTR the Label, and since it's something that I come across quite frequently, I'm actually pretty excited about picking it up more. Okay, so the next brand is one that I come across often as well. You probably come across it often. It's a brand that's gonna have way more no's than yeses, but the yeses can be great. So that's the North Face. North Face is one that it's like, when I come across especially nicer pieces that are in really good condition, I'm like, should I pick this up? Like, I just don't know. I've had the hardest time differentiating between like what does well and what doesn't do well. And generally, I think after doing some research, I've determined that I'm going to be really selective with the North Face, and really the factor that's going to determine whether I pick it up or not is this piece insulated? Like, does it have any down? Does it have any insulation? With the exception of snow pants or ski pants, which we'll talk about in a bit. If it has any element of that, then I think it's worth checking comps at the very least and probably picking up. If it's just more of a fleece or, you know, just a shirt or something like that, I'm probably gonna pass on it or continue to pass on it. But even some jackets or pullovers will just have a little bit of insulation, and those actually might be worth picking up. But the real winners within this category are going to be your down-filled or your puffer coats. And a couple of styles that I've had experience selling, I wanted to mention. The first is Metropolis. Both the longer version, the shorter version, Metropolis 2, Metropolis 3, can do well. It'll typically sell between $100 and $200, and it will typically sell very quickly. Second is the Gotham style, and similarly longer and shorter styles can do really well. And if it has the faux fur hood, I think it's faux fur, then it will do even better, and that can sell between $80 to $200. But even if it's just a general puffer coat, I would say put it in your cart, check it out, check comps, because even older styles of puffer coats can sell between $30 and $60. So especially if you're at the bins and you come across a puffer coat by a North Face in good condition, why not pick it up? But the one line with the North Face that's doing especially well right now is Nuptse, and this is of course the style that Kendall Jenner wore, infamously, a brown Nuptse puffer coat, and hers actually had like two tones of brown on it. And this is a style of puffer coat and vest that can do really, really well. It has much more space between the seams. It is a kind of throwback vintage style coat. I don't even know if the North Face sells it on their own website, but places like ASOS sell them. And they retail for a lot of money, and they can resell for a lot of money. So they resell at the very bottom, it's like $65, and it can go up to all the way to $650 if you find the exact piece that Kendall Jenner wore. But generally it's gonna sell, I think, for over $100, and if I found an Nuptse piece, I'd probably hold out for over $100. So I definitely want to mention that when talking about the North Face in 2022. And then of course, the North Face, the actual category that I'm really excited about because I've actually come across it in the thrift store since doing this research is ski pants and ski bibs. And there are a couple of styles that I'll point out, but really generally, even if it doesn't have a style name, it's gonna sell around 50 bucks. So it's just a really good category and brand matchup. Anything kind of ski related by the North Face is gonna do well. And luckily being in the Pacific Northwest, come across it quite a bit, but you know, if you live in Utah, Colorado, maybe even the Northeast, you could probably come across it quite a bit as well. So the first is called the Freedom line, and the pants can sell, you know, anywhere between $50 to $120. The ski bibs can sell between $80 and $150, just depending on the colorway that you find and, you know, what kind of condition it's in. And then the other one is, I think, a newer style by the North Face, and it's called Snowga. It's a really kind of cute ski pant, and it will resell between $100 and $170. But there are a bunch of different styles that, and all of them honestly look like they performed well. So ski pants, ski bibs by the North Face, definitely pick them up if you come across them. Okay, number 8 on the list is a brand that I mentioned recently on this channel. I picked it up at the bins, and I think I saw at least 1 or 2 comments that were saying, oh, I didn't know to pick up this brand. So I thought I would talk a little bit more about it now, and that is Billabong. First thing I want to clarify is that I'm talking about newer pieces by Billabong. Of course, you can come across a bunch of older pieces by Billabong in the thrift store, in the bins. Don't pick those up, and I'll show you how you can kind of differentiate the older tag. And this isn't the oldest tag, but the older tag that I wouldn't pick up, it looks like this. And then the newer tag is going to look like this, and it's also going to have a little metal bar on the outside that is engraved and says Billabong on it. So I pick up the newer style only, and I make sure it has that little bar. Billabong has been doing a lot to stay relevant, and I think they've done a pretty good job of it. I mean, Billabong was huge when I was like in middle school, but they've been rebranding. They've been really doing well, I think, because newer pieces can really sell well. So they've also done collaborations with Instagram influencers. So the dress that I actually found at the bins recently was a collaboration piece with the influencer called Sincerely Jules. And then they've also done a collaboration with the Salty Blonde. I don't follow either of these influencers, but if you find a collab piece with these 2 people, it tends to increase the resale value, especially the Salty Blonde. I think that must be more recent. So definitely something to keep in mind. But really the 2 categories that I am going to be willing to pick up by Billabong: dresses and one-piece swimsuits. Potentially 2-piece swimsuits if I find the matching set and it's newer, but really focusing on dresses and one-piece swimsuits. So I'm just gonna throw up a few examples of Billabong dresses that perform well. Of course, it's not an exhaustive list like I've been saying, but I just kind of want to give you a sense or an idea of what I'm talking about. So the first is Soft Seas Maxi Dress, and this has a resale value of around 40 to 80 bucks. Next is this Sunrise Mimosa Dress. It can sell between 30 and 70 bucks. And then last is this Dream Chaser Dress, which can sell between 40 and 75 bucks. And, you know, 30 to 75, let's just say, is kind of what I'd be looking for when it comes to Billabong. It only retails for like 90 bucks. So it just retains its retail value fairly well. The newer pieces do. So while Billabong pieces probably won't have your highest average sales price even on this list, it still sells really quickly, newer pieces do, and consistently around, you know, the $40 range. One-piece swimsuits, especially wetsuits and rash guards, can do so well. I didn't actually know that before doing this research. So there's this one style, I think it's been around a while, and they just keep putting out different prints of it. It's called the Salty Days wetsuit. And if you find one of these, it resells between $70 and $140, pre-owned even. So definitely be on the lookout for that style. And then other, you know, non-Salty Days wetsuits or rash guards can do really well too. So definitely something to keep an eye out for. And then one-piece swimsuits in general can do well by Billabong. Again, you're gonna wanna look for more recent styles. A couple of examples is this Sol Dawn one-piece swimsuit that can resell between 30 and 60 bucks. And then another one is this Tan Lines swimsuit that has a resale value of between 60 and 120 bucks. 120 bucks is new with tag, but still, it does really well. Okay, so that's Billabong. Next brand on this list is something that I actually didn't realize was a Bolo brand until, I don't know, getting pregnant. And it is DL1961. This brand retails for so much money. It's insane. I really didn't realize that. I don't think I've ever picked up DL1961 at the thrift store. I don't know, actually. DL1961 is a denim brand. It's sold at places like Shop Bop Revolve. It's also sold at places like Nordstrom and Macy's. But yeah, it retails for a lot of money. But the first thing to keep in mind when it comes to DL1961 is that it's been around a while, so you're definitely going to want to know what the newer tag and the older tag looks like. So the older tag I'll pop up on the screen. It is going to be more embroidered on the denim itself. The newer tag looks like this, and it's on like a cloth tag. And even though this brand retails for a ton, certainly not all styles resell for a ton. I'm still going to be very selective with this brand. But there are two kind of categories that I'm going to be willing to pick up more of. The first is maternity. And to be honest, the maternity jeans in general, like, they don't resell for a ton of money, but they resell for a good amount of money, and I think they sell really quickly. So the first is actually maternity overalls or shortalls. They should resell for good money. If you come across them, I would definitely pick them up. They can resell between $40 and $100. But then maternity jeans, there's a few styles that do better than others. One is called the Emma. It's more of a jegging style jean. It can resell between $28 and $70 depending on, you know, how recent the style is and the color way of the one you find. And then the other is the Florence maternity jean, and it has a resale value of between $30 and $50 again depending on what kind of style you find. But then the other kind of subcategory within DL1961 that I am going to at least check comps on and potentially pick up more of in the future is just high-waisted denim by this brand. There are three styles that I was able to come across that I was like, oh, okay, I'll definitely check comps on these if I come across them. And the first is Jerry. It's a high-rise straight leg jean. It's actually really cute, and it has a resale value of between $30 and $70 depending on kind of what color and style again that you find. The second is the Pharaoh high rise. It is a high rise skinny leg jean, and it has a resale value between $30 and $50. And the last one, which is really cute too, is called Hepburn jean. They're a high rise wide leg crop. They make them in all different colorways. Some of them are super, super cute. They're also sold on places like Anthropologie, I should say. And that has a resale value, depending on the color that you find, between $35 and $100. And I think, like, you know, I probably put the average higher on this one, around like $50 or $60. But I will say with DL1961, when I was going through, I was kind of surprised to see that new with tag pieces just sell so much better than pre-owned pieces. Like, I would come across, you know, the exact same style where the new tag was selling for $90 and then the pre-owned version was selling for like $25, like right next to each other. I was like, make it make sense. Like, I mean, I know, of course, new tag pieces have a higher resale value on average, but it was like a pretty wide disparity. So if you come across new tag DL1961 in the thrift store or in the bins, definitely consider picking it up and check comps. Okay, we're on number 10, the bread and butter brand. Last one on this list is Nordstrom Signature. And this is something that I actually wouldn't have learned about unless I did liquidation, because I actually received some of this through liquidation. Now I'm actually going to be willing to pick it up at the bins in the thrift store moving forward. And there are three things that I'll be willing to pick up by Nordstrom Signature. And all of these three things are not style specific, but rather they're material specific. So the first is anything that is made with 100% cashmere, especially women's coats and sweaters and cardigans. So if you find something that's 100% cashmere by Nordstrom Signature, you can expect anywhere between $30 and $150. But generally, I think you could expect 50 to 60 pre-owned and then 70 to 100 new at tag. So one style that I did want to mention actually that does especially well is called this Cascade coat. If you come across this in a thrift store, I would say definitely pick it up. It's 100% cashmere and it just tends to perform really well. But then regular sweaters that are 100% cashmere by Nordstrom Signature that are pullovers, v-necks, turtlenecks do really well as well. One thing that even if it's 100% cashmere I may not pick up is a short sleeve sweater by Nordstrom Signature. Just in my experience in looking over comps, I think that it just sits for a while and doesn't sell that well. So I might skip that even if it was that 100% cashmere. And then the second thing by Nordstrom Rack that I think sells well is anything that's 100% merino wool, but especially men's sweaters that are 100% merino wool, and they can sell between $50 to $75, especially if you get them in excellent condition or new at tag. And then lastly, the other thing that I'll be on the lookout for with this brand is men's suit jackets or outerwear. They can sell between 40 and 80 bucks. So that is Nordstrom Signature, and that is the 10 bread and butter brands that I am going to pick up more in 2022. Let me know in the comments down below, what is a bread and butter brand that you are planning on picking up more this year? And was there anything on this list that kind of surprised you, or did you learn anything? Let me know in the comments down below. And of course, if you have any questions, you can let me know there too. Please, if you found this video entertaining, helpful, useful, give it a big old thumbs up, subscribe to our YouTube channel. But yeah, thanks so much for watching. I will see y'all in the next one. Okay, love y'all. Bye.